what would be the first step that you would recommend? So if I call you and I'm like, Laura, I have this shop, but maybe now's the time. Maybe not. I don't know. Where do I begin?
So a big part of this, which I think makes a whole lot of anxiety go away, is a free consultation with me.
Mm.
You can go on my website and you can book a free consultation, or
Hmm.
you can certainly send me an email, give me a call, text, whatever works for you,
Yeah.
and schedule a free consultation. And I can kind of go over all of that stuff, answer all your questions, and help you understand the whole process from soup to nuts. I think that's probably the easiest way. And I think it will settle and help with a lot of fears and concerns that a lot of people have. Because I know when I talk to clients and I do these consultations, when I hang up, that's what they always say. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad we had this call. Like, I feel like I have traction. I
Yeah.
understand, and knowledge is power. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Understanding it helps you to be able to move to the next step, you know?
Mm. Well, I think with anything in life, the unknown is always the scariest. And so to be able to have a conversation, especially, you doing a free consultation, that's no cost, no commitment. They can just call you and chit chat about things. Once you kind of have some information and you feel like, okay, I kind of have a game plan or I can wrap my brain around this thing, the weight comes off, just the
100%.
stress and the tension. It's like, okay, we can do this. Now I've got, like you were talking about earlier, your tool belt. Now I've got some tools. Now we together can create a strategy, whatever that looks like. Or now I have that information and you know what? That's not for me. Either way though, it helps with clarity. And that's
Yep.
really what we're looking for, right? In the moment that you're in right now when you're trying to decide, is a little bit of clarity and a little bit of support. And through a free evaluation consultation kind of thing, they can have that at no
Yep.
cost.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that as a shop owner, the time now is really to consider selling. There
Mhm.
are more buyers, more consolidators right now than I think I've ever seen that I can remember. I mean, we've been consolidating now for almost 10 years. And I mean, I
Wow.
think we've got at least 15 buyers right now. It's insane.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of sellers. And what's crazy is this has kind of created a buyer's and a seller's market at the same time, which
Mm.
is bizarre because, like, I've never seen that in any, whether it's houses or commercial or anything. I've never seen that in any kind
Yeah.
of business. So it's kind of a crazy scenario. And a lot of the consolidators have a lot of directives on things that they need to get accomplished, as far as markets and things that they really want to make some traction in. So if you're in one of those markets, I mean, really the time is now. So if you're
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Well, and I work with Laura. I mean, not only is she a personal friend, but we do some work together. And I know that these MSOs contact her and will say, Laura, I need you to be looking in this area of the country specifically we're looking to acquire. So, and you won't know that unless you call her and ask her, hey, do you think I'm in an area that might be a prime location? That would be, I think, a good question. That would be something nice to know is,
Absolutely.
hey, am I in a hot spot? Because if so, I might have wanted to wait 5 or 10 more years. But if I can maximize my investment by doing it now, hmm, that's something to think about.
And honestly, that was the case with me when, the shops got sold. It was back in 2015. And ultimately, what happened was, the consolidators kept sending me letters over and over. I think
Mm.
I must have got 50 letters. And one of the consolidators, I was personal friends, actually, a couple of them. It was one consolidator, but a couple of them I was personal friends with. And they called me up one day and they were like, what's it going to take? What is it going to take to get your attention? And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm 43. I have a 12-year-old that's
Mm.
chronically ill. My ex-husband or my husband at the time
Yep.
is very sick. I mean, I have a lot of responsibility here. And they said, we probably can make it where you don't have to work, Laura. You can, I
Mm.
think we can make this work for you. And I'm like, well, I tell you what, put your money where your mouth
Yeah.
is. Put a number on the table, get my attention. And
Yeah.
they got my attention. But I will tell you, I took a few steps back to learn about it and to make sure that, I understood the whole thing, soup to nuts, and really got knowledgeable on the topic. And when we ended up, closing the deal, there was a significant increase over that initial number that I was like, woohoo on, I literally, like, when they first told me, I was very excited. But when you take a few steps back, you have to think about it. It's like anything, like buying a used car or anything else. The initial number, there's typically, I mean, not always, but there's typically more money to be had,
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing for shop owners. A lot of times they get, thrown a bag of money at them and they're like, oh my gosh, I've hit the lottery, And when that happens, they're like, where's the papers? Let me sign them.
Yeah.
So
Dreams of vacations on beaches.
yeah. So the idea is that, I want to help them, sign the paper safely, get the most amount of money, and essentially just the bottom line is I don't want to see them get screwed. That's the whole thing why I started doing this. I just didn't want to see, people that were like me, they put their jeans on every day and their polo shirt on just like me every day. They've been over, looked at cars and washed 15 cars on a Friday, and they're just like me. And I just didn't want to see anybody get, taken advantage of. And a lot of times I don't really think it's necessarily the consolidators trying to take advantage of them, but it's like anything, if you don't know, you don't know,
That's right. That's right. Well, and you mentioned a really important point is business owners are typically working in their business. So how much time do you really have to be sifting through the paperwork or even educating yourself on it? I mean, it's kind of like, would you go sell your own house? That's a massive investment. And I would never, like, I don't have time. That's why we pay a real estate agent, because they're the specialists and they can handle all the paperwork and I don't have to worry about it. And then I know I'm going to get the biggest bang for my buck by using them. And yes, I have to pay them a commission, but it's worth it because I'm going to make more money still, even paying them out, than I would have without them. And it's stress-free. So I feel like it's very similar to kind of what you're doing. You're able to come in, be like, don't worry, I got you. Just pass it on over to me. Let me look at it. Let me go through it. That way you can focus on still running your business until we can sign on that dotted line and get you a plane ticket to, the Bahamas or whatever.
And that's a big part of it is, I do evaluation first on the business. That's part of the process.
Yeah.
And then I go over that valuation with the client and I make sure that they're on board, because let's keep it real. If they're in their mind thinking, they're going to get $4 million and I do the valuation based on what I know the business is worth and what they can get, and we're only at $3 million, like that's what I know they can get, it's no point in moving forward and wasting their time or wasting, the buyer's time, so I really try to make sure that expectations are set on the front end.
So
make
important.
Sure they understand the whole process, literally from A to Z, because there's just so much to it. And the other thing is I try to collect everything that I'm going to need from them at the very beginning of the process, so that I'm not having to bug them all the time. Like you said, they've got to run their businesses in most cases. Most collision shop owners are still involved, in daily operations of some level,
Right.
So I applied the same theory of constraints, process improvement mentality to what I do now. And it just makes the process super smooth and easy.
Yeah. Well, and the business valuation, like you said, is so important. And it's so important now looking back and seeing other shops that I've worked with, seeing them sell, having kind of gone through it myself. And the business valuation is the key. And honestly, like you said, that's where you start with the whole thing. And I know some clients will just utilize you just for evaluation. And then some are like, and then at that point, some of them are like, it's not really worth it. I want to keep plugging along or whatever. And, or then they continue to work with you through the process. But I would think, well, I know the business valuation, knowing what you can expect to get that's fair and reasonable. So like you said, then you can make the decision. Is it really worth it? Is this something that I want to move forward with? And getting that business valuation from somebody that's actually in the industry that knows what the market can bear. That's a whole nother level of wonderfulness that you bring to the table rather than some guy, random guy that comes in, like you said, an accountant, something like that, because business valuations are all over the place for different businesses. It's not like a flat thing. Well, you just take this number and divide it by this and times it by that, and that's it. It's like, no, there's so much more to it. And working with the MSOs, you know what's actually practical, because I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a lot of people that come to the table, and I'm sure we probably all do it. We all think our business is worth probably more than we could get for it. Now, maybe because like you said, the market shifted, so you might be, pleasantly surprised by your valuation, but at least you've got some practical data that you can then move forward with or not. So I would think for you, that's like a number one, let's get that valuation done.
Yeah. And the other thing, when you think about like a real estate transaction, two things about that. One, selling your business is so much more complex. I mean, I
Mm,
can't even put it into, there's just no words. It's just super complex, super involved, super detailed. And it would be like putting 20 real estate, probably 40 real estate, commercial real estate transactions and jamming them into one when you're selling your business, because there's just so many details.
yes.
That's a huge piece. And then
Right.
the other piece that's huge is there's no like MLS. There's no
Hmm.
historical place that you can go and see, there's no realtor, there's no place that this data is. The only places that this data is the consolidators. I'm sure they have their own I'm sure method for keeping track of it, but I
Yes.
keep track of it for all of my deals.
Yeah.
So that historical data is huge, and knowing what other deals, other stores, other scenarios have paid, have sold for. Because ultimately that is a lot of what value is driven off of.
Yeah.
It,
That's true.
just like, in the housing market. So
Right. What is the difference between a broker versus a consolidation coach, like what you're calling yourself? Because I'm sure that they're two different things.
yeah, sure is.